Welcome into Courtside Seats with Kroeger, a Charlotte Hornets podcast. Here he is, Chris Kroeger.
All right, welcome in episode 17 of Courtside Seats, and we're on the road because the season's here. Preseason schedule's underway, and by the time you have listened to this, we have already played 2 preseason games against the Celtics, but for now, we'll take you inside my hotel room in downtown Boston. I'm joined by Hornets power forward Marvin Williams. We're watching some college football. Marv, what's up, man? How you doing?
A lot. Hanging out, man. Thanks for having me.
No, it's good. We're just watching a little SEC football right now, and it's funny. I was thinking about this before you came up here. I was like, I wonder if Marv's just chilling or watching some college football on a Saturday afternoon. But I mean, for you, are you able to, as a professional athlete, look at something and just enjoy it as a fan? What are you able to watch any sport that way anymore?
I think all sports except basketball I'm able to enjoy as a fan. I feel like once I made it to the NBA, it's very difficult for me to watch NBA basketball without looking at it as work.
Yeah, you're analyzing it. Oh, you should have done that. It's a bad cut. It's sloppy.
We would play him this way, or you got to try to guard him that way. And so I think it is difficult for me to watch the NBA, but sports, especially football, I'm a huge fan.
College football or NFL?
College, definitely.
I feel like I'm the same way these days now.
Yeah.
I love the Panthers. You're a Seahawks fan. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
I love the Panthers. It's hard to just, if there's a big NFL game, I'll watch it. Of course, we all do, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it's hard to watch any 2 teams play NFL football. I could watch pretty much any 2 teams play college football and I'd enjoy it, I think.
I would watch any football game, whether it was like a replay or, when I was in Salt Lake, they had a team out there that was nationally ranked, and I used to go to their games. You're talking
about Utah?
Yeah, Salt Lake. Yeah, they had a team that was very, very good. Unfortunately, every time I went, they were always up like 40 at halftime.
Yeah.
They were good. They were really good. But I went to a couple of their games, so anytime there's a football game on or I can get a chance to go, I definitely try to go.
For you, man, this is year 14.
Yeah.
Is that crazy to you? How does that feel?
It doesn't feel like 14. Yeah. Sometimes my knees feels like it's 14, but no, I've been blessed, man. I've been extremely blessed. I was telling some of the younger guys a couple of days ago, man, how fast it goes by. I think this might be like 9 for Kemba, 8 or 9 for Kemba.
It is 8 for Kemba, yeah. 8 for Kemba, 7 for MKG.
Right. So, and MKG and I are going to be in the same boat. We'll be the same age, 32 years old when he's year 14. So, it does go by quick, man, definitely.
Yep. Well, and you're a guy that came out with lofty expectations. It's funny, you were a number 2 overall pick in the 05 draft. Do you remember any of those guys that are still kicking around in the league? Because there aren't a lot. You're a rare breed right now, still hanging out from that 05 draft.
Man, I know Ray's still in the league, Ray Felton. Obviously, Chris Paul. I think Jared Jack just signed with someone.
Yeah. Lou Williams is still
Lou Williams,
around.
He is 05. I keep forgetting he's younger than me.
Yeah, he was a second-round pick in that draft.
Okay, and then I feel like Gortat was even in the 05 draft. I could be
wrong.
Right.
But of course you remember, right? Who went in front of you number 1?
Bogut.
Yeah.
He just went back home.
Yeah, went back to Australia.
Yeah, this summer.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, man. It's so far away.
Yeah.
So I know sometimes for foreigners, man, anytime they get an opportunity to go play back home, it is really cool. So, but he had a great career, man, definitely.
It's always funny, too, because I feel like when people talk about drafts and it's just so ridiculous. Like, fans do this, media people do this, where it's like, oh, you're number 1 pick, so you should have – this is what your career should look like, right? Like, you just put on that dude immediately. And I think you go back, and especially for you as a number 2 overall pick, you've been in the league now 14 years. You're not done by any stretch. Look at a guy like Chris Paul who's done it for so long. I mean, you start talking about guys who are even 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th overall selections. Like, if you stick around in the league anywhere really more than, 3, 4, 5 years, you've done something, man. Like, I don't think people realize, Mark, how hard it is to have staying power in the NBA.
I think in any profession, period, I don't know anyone that's done anything for 14 years, and that's just honest. I know a couple of teachers back home that they're just out hitting double digits.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a long time, and you look at someone like Vince, who's coming up on his 21st. He's Dirk.
Isn't that crazy?
20. You're talking about 2 decades. They have teammates that are older than them. They've been in the league longer than their teammates have been alive. So, it's crazy, man. It's definitely a testament to how hard people work and how much they care about their profession. And, fortunately for us, basketball is not really a job when you like to do what you do. So I've been blessed, man. Hopefully I can continue to do it as long as I can.
Growing up, you grow up in just outside of Seattle, right? Where you're west of Seattle growing up?
Yep.
Across the Puget Sound?
Right.
Okay. So you grew up diehard Mariners fan, Seahawks fan, Sonics fan at that time.
Yeah,
right. That was
definitely.
right. That was right as they were still around at that point.
Yeah.
So you're Seattle through and through. You've been gone for so long, but you still rep Seattle hard.
Yeah, that's where I'm from, man. That's home. Obviously, living in North Carolina, I do kind of pull for the Carolina teams. The Panthers have grown on me, I will admit. Getting an opportunity to kind of meet some of those guys around town, and I am a big fan of their coach, obviously, as well too. So I kind of like the way they do things. Big fan of Cam, Luke Kuechly, Greg Olsen. I've got a chance to meet a lot of those guys throughout my time here in Charlotte. So I do pull for those guys to win, but if they did play Seattle, I would cheer for Seattle.
Well, I tell you what, you guys had our number for a while, and then, as you remember, 2015, we went out there, came back in the fourth quarter. I think that was the moment, every Panthers fan would admit this, that was the moment we all realized, dang, this team's good. Yeah. Like, if we can come back, we were down 2 scores going into the fourth quarter. People don't do that at that time, not with that Seahawks team.
Yeah, very true.
And so we did that, and then we got you guys in the divisional round, and we thought this is where you exercise the demons, because if we can beat the Seahawks team twice in 1 year, we're going to be golden. And that was the first year I had season tickets to the Panthers, me and my wife. And I remember just being scared out of my mind because we went up, I think, 21-0.
Early. Very early, yeah.
And then you guys started coming back, and I thought, here we go. We're going to blow this. Seahawks are going to do it, and they're going to go to another Super Bowl. But no, we hung on. But that's been a fun little rivalry, kind of, because I feel like Russell and Cam are like of the same age. Yeah. Teams are built the same way. They got the same sort of identity. So that's been a fun rivalry.
Yeah, I think so. I always enjoy when those guys match up. Seattle actually comes to this year, but we're
out of town.
Yeah, I checked, man. A couple of my buddies, they always come down.
Yeah,
when that game happens. So unfortunately, they're not going to be able to make it this time. We are in Atlanta, but I think we do play at like 6 o'clock or something.
Yeah, we
ain't
going to make it.
1 o'clock game. Yeah, so.
Trust me, I already looked too. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'll follow it on my phone though for sure.
Yeah. So growing up, Bremerton High School, right?
Correct.
When did you fall in love with basketball? Like, when did were you playing other sports growing up?
Yeah, I played a ton of sports. I played basketball, football. I ran track. I played soccer. Never played baseball. My dad always wanted me to play baseball, and I never played. But yeah, I enjoyed it, man. I love football. I feel like football's always been my favorite sport. But obviously, I guess I was blessed to play basketball. That was my gift. So I've always loved to play basketball. I started playing because I just wanted to be like my dad. That's all my dad ever did was play basketball. So I wanted to be like him, and I just kept getting better and better and better. And God took it from there.
When did you realize, like, I'm bigger, faster, stronger than everybody at your age? When did that really, like, start to – was it early, like freshman, sophomore, or were you more of a late bloomer?
I was always kind of taller than everybody for the most part, but as far as, like, getting stronger, bigger, faster, I was a decent athlete, I guess, I would say. But I was definitely better than kids my age. I would say probably, like, around maybe 6th or 7th grade. I realized I was starting to get better, yeah. My dad and I used to play one-on-one all the time, and he used to beat me up. I used to have a couple of older guys in my neighborhood that would beat me up, too.
How big's your dad?
It's like 5'11".
And he was still beating you up, though?
Yeah, I was a kid, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we've ever played, I was 14 years old. I'll never forget it. It was maybe like close to midnight. We were playing on the weekend, and we were playing one-on-one, and he kept trying to beat me up, but he just couldn't do anything with me anymore. I was just too big, yeah. I was too big. I mean, he'll tell you, man, he knew at that point, like, we had never played again. Yeah, start
getting all the recruiting rankings ready for you at that point. So you go through Bremerton, and I've talked to you a little bit about this. So you obviously could have stayed at home. UW's a great program.
Yeah.
Could have played at Washington. Who was the coach? Lorenzo Romar?
Romar. Yeah. Okay. Great guy, man. One of the best guys I've ever had a chance to meet. I actually went to college with one of his daughters in Carolina.
Is that right?
Yeah, she and I are still very close. She lives in Charlotte as well. But, he's the best, man, definitely. So
he came hot and heavy for you, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So Carolina comes into the picture as well. But who all was recruiting you at that point?
I had my last 5 schools were Chapel Hill, Washington, Arizona, Oregon, and then the bad guys, Duke.
Oh.
Yeah.
You actually thought about Duke? I didn't know this.
Yeah, I did. They were in my top 5, but when it came down to it, it really boiled down to Washington and in Carolina. I had Arizona in there, but I didn't think I was going to go there.
Oregon, Ernie Kent was the coach at that time?
He was.
Yeah,
he was.
And they were just starting to get rolling too a little bit.
They were. A buddy of mine, Aaron Brooks, plays in Minnesota. He's a year older than me. He went down there, so he was trying to sell me on those guys the whole time, but I didn't think I was going to go.
So why Carolina?
I think Coach Williams was the main reason why. I really, really wanted to play for him. My dad being from North Carolina, obviously he kind of pushed the Carolina thing on me too, like as I was a kid. But I really wanted to play for Coach, man. I tell people all the time, if Coach would have stayed at Kansas, I don't
you would have
know
gone
if
to
I
Kansas.
made it. If I made it to Carolina, yes, I'm not sure because I really wanted to play for him. So
you get there, and that was kind of an interesting run. Like after Dean retires, and then Guthridge takes over, and Coach Guthridge did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And then the Matt Doherty era was short-lived, didn't go very well, and Roy came in. I think people forget this too, like all the success Roy's had now over the years. But man, if he didn't have that success, they were going to run him out of town too, because he walked in day one and it was like, Roy, you got to fix this, right? And not only do you got to fix it, like we got to win national championships, and you come in year 2 after that 04 season, and he starts to really get to. I think they won 19 games. I think the year before you came in.
Yeah, 19 games, 19 or 20 games. I think they got upset in the tournament.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember who they lost to. I can't remember who they lost to.
But everybody talks about that 05 team because that was his first title. You were the ACC Rookie of the Year, all that great stuff. But I was thinking about this today, and I'm not trying to dig up old stuff, but do you think people, when I say 05 Tar Heels, what do people say? National championship or Santa Clara?
A national championship.
Nobody talks Santa Clara with you at all? Like, does that? But that covers everything, right? When you win a natty, I think people have forgotten. Like, you opened the season with a really bad loss to Santa Clara, which nobody saw coming, and I think people were probably at the time thinking, like, okay, is this team going to be okay? Like, what's going on here? But nah, you guys turned out pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if anyone can tell me.
I think it gets forgotten.
4 teams that we even lost to that year.
Shoot, what were the other 3 in ACC play?
Yeah.
You swept Duke that year, right?
No.
No, so you lost to Duke. You lost at Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Lost at Duke. We lost to Wake.
Okay.
At Wake.
Chris Paul was on that Wake team.
He was.
So that's okay.
And then we lost to Georgia Tech in the ACC tournament.
Okay. Yeah, because you got bounced. You had the double bye, right, in the ACC.
We had
the single bye at that time.
Then we played Clemson.
And then you lost in the third round.
Yeah, lost to Georgia Tech.
Wow.
Will Bonham went crazy at like 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a hell of a player. I cannot believe he's not in the NBA right now. But
so what do you remember about that? So when you lose to that Georgia Tech team in the tournament, are you guys like, hey, this is the wake-up call we needed for a tournament run, for like a push to the championship? Were you thinking championship? Like, what's going through your head after that tournament loss?
Obviously for me, I'd never been in that situation before, so I didn't really know what to expect. The one thing I did know is that Coach does not like to lose.
Yeah.
And like, he lets that be known like day one. I mean, even the Santa Clara loss, like we played Santa Clara, we lost to them, and then we were supposed to go to Hawaii. We went to Hawaii, playing the Maui Invitational, and I remember we got there, flew 6 hours, had like a 40-minute bus ride. He turns around, he's like, you have 28 minutes to be like dressed and downstairs in the weight room. So I'm kind of looking around like, so we go upstairs, get dressed, lift weights, we go to the gym. It was one of the toughest practices of the year. There was no air conditioning in there. It was so hot, had all the doors open, and like literally we got after it the entire time. But that was the biggest wake-up call, I feel like, for us, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys had so much talent on that team. I mean, with Rashad and Ray and Sean and you. Wes Miller's now the head coach at Greensboro, was your teammate on that team as well. So, yeah, that was a team. And then, I mean, you were the glue guy, which I think is so rare, Marv. Like, people can talk about talented freshmen, all that stuff, but to be really the sixth man, which is what you were off that team, you were this igniter that would come in as a freshman and be ACC Rookie of the Year. Like, I don't know, I just don't think you see, because that was kind of a veteran team, but with this freshman who came in, but you were the guy that put him over the top. Like, usually I feel like it's the opposite, right? It's like this one senior or upperclassman who pushes the team, maybe a younger team, to a championship, but you're kind of the outlier. You kind of, I think, flipped that on his head a little bit.
Yeah, it was a different situation, I would say, but I was very comfortable in that situation. I enjoyed it. Coach Williams never told me that I was going to come there and start or anything like that. He never promised me anything like that, and I was glad. That was a big thing for me. I'd been recruited by a number of schools, obviously, and a lot of coaches pretty much told me everything that I wanted to hear, but he was the one guy that never told me, hey, you're going to play, you're going to start. He told me if I went in there and worked as hard as I can, I would have an opportunity to play. And I was fine with that, because I can control how hard I worked, and it worked out in the end.
It's funny how you say that, because not only you, but Buzz and Mitch have both told me that same thing. Now with Dean, not with Roy. Right. But, yeah, Dean never promised anything, so everybody's going to come in here with a fair shot. And they said the same thing. Like, everybody's always promising you everything. So the one time somebody comes in and says, yeah, I'm not going to promise you anything. Like, you actually appreciate that.
Absolutely.
It's more authentic.
It's different, man. It's very different. Some guys obviously like to be promised the world, and some guys
you
like
think
to be
so? I don't get
world.
that though. Like, that's what I don't get is. It seems like so many people are like, yeah, just shoot me straight. And if I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z to get where I want to be, I'm willing to do it. But it's just amazing to me how many coaches, I think, still try and do and say whatever they can to get a kid to feel comfortable to come to his school or whatever that is.
Well, I think it works, right? Like, you have to think everyone is not like you said, like a straight shooter, like, hey, come in here and work hard and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a kid that's, maybe from Bremerton, he walks in there and he's like, hey, man, you come to my school, you'll play 30 minutes a night. You'll start. You'll shoot 15 times a game. And that sounds fantastic when you're 17 years old. You're like, why not do that? So I'm sure that there are kids out there that do that, man. And that's why it happens, I feel like.
You hit the go-ahead basket in a national championship game. I mean, how many guys on earth can say that? You hit the decisive go-ahead basket. You win a national championship, and to do it as a freshman, but is that still like something you look back on in your life and what's that, top 3, top 5?
One?
It's number 1.
Yeah, that's got to be 1, and then like a 1B would be the Duke shot that they put back, I think, for sure. It was a special time, man, obviously. We had worked so hard to get to that point. Obviously Illinois was an incredible team. I think they had maybe 1 loss.
Yeah.
They were like 31-0 and lost in like the Big Ten tournament or something, if I remember correctly, but they were extremely tough, man. It was a hard-fought game, and I was in the right place at the right time, man. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I've just been blessed, man, definitely.
Come out of the NBA draft, you're a number 2 overall pick. I don't remember that 05 draft so much. I mean, I remember Bogut and the order and all that stuff. Bobcats at that time had 2 picks, obviously, because they went Raymond and Sean. They picked your 2 teammates.
Yeah.
But was there any chatter at that time? How much do you remember about maybe the potential of going number 1 overall?
I don't remember much about it. I did work out in Milwaukee, but
just always felt like it was going to be Andrew Bogut for them.
I didn't know what anybody was going to. I mean, the thing about the draft, man, you hear all these things about what could happen, and then when draft night does happen, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So I feel like at 18, I was smart enough to know at that point that just because you hear this or someone says that, it very well may not play out that way. So I just waited my time, and thankfully it came sooner than later.
Number 2, though, like that's ridiculously high. So to go that high, did you ever think that was possible when you committed to Carolina and you were coming out of high school? Did you ever? Because surely you were thinking, hey, the NBA is a goal. I think I can get there. But to be a number 2 pick in the draft, and especially at that age, did that ever seem realistic to you?
I think like when I was in high school, kids were still coming out of high school going straight to the NBA, and I felt like I was, pretty decent in my high school class. So I did feel like the NBA was possible if I continued to work. Never would I have thought that, it would have worked out like that. I mean, honestly, I never would have thought I'd be in the NBA 14 years later, honestly. I mean, like I said, 14 years is a long time, man. Yeah. It's a long time. So I've been very fortunate, man, definitely.
I feel like the league has changed, and you're kind of the poster child of it because you come in and, I mean, you weren't asked to shoot the 3 ball like when you came in. You were a small forward at that time.
Right.
Like, you weren't even really – you're not a power forward the way you are now, so that's even crazier of an idea. But, like, what was basketball – take us back. So, like, if you were on that Hawks team, what were your responsibilities, even from an offensive standpoint, when you first came into the league? Playing predominantly the 3.
Yeah, I played a lot in the mid-post. A lot of my games in the mid-post. That was my strength back then. I had to defend, and I had to rebound. I would guard. Joe and I would take turns guarding like the other team's best perimeter scorer. That's what I did. Joe carried a huge load for us scoring offensively, so obviously it was difficult for him at times to do both each and every night. He did it, for the most part, but some nights, I would have to help him out on the defensive end, and that's what I did, so that was my job. But I got a lot of shoot a lot of free throws. I was a much better athlete than I am now, obviously. But, yeah, that's changed a lot, man. With there used to be 2 bigs back then. You'd have your big centers and your big power forwards. And like you said, there were the small forwards. But now, like a power forward could be a small forward now, literally.
And a power forward could be a center, too.
Yeah, very true. Could be a center now. So it's very different, man. The game has definitely changed for sure.
Do you remember, like, a moment where you started to – where you actually, like, it kicked in? Where you're like, man, what's going on? Like, this league is really starting to move in a direction. Like, this game is really starting to change right in front of our eyes.
I think Golden State did it.
Steph, yeah.
I think that I think when Golden State started putting Draymond at like that 5 spot, I think it changed everything because everyone was trying to figure out how to slow those guys down. And when they went small, they were so good defensively and offensively, you had to put smaller guys out there. And I really feel like that's when the league started to go a lot smaller.
But the thing I'll say about them is, I think you're right on this, but I think the thing that often gets overlooked about them is, we talk about them as a dynasty and, it's unfair how much talent they've got. It's all well and good, but that specific group of guys allows them to do it, right? Like how many other guys in the league, you can't plug and play guys and say, hey, go play the same way, right? Like Draymond's such an X factor because of who he is, right? Like his frame, his skill set, his athleticism. Steph and Clay the same way. I mean, Steph, there's never been a player to shoot the 3 ball off the dribble the way Steph has. Nah. It's changed the game, right? So, like, that's part of it, too, is everybody's mimicking it, but, man, they do it in a weird way that it's really unique, right? Like, that's why it's such a force, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to look at, the hand that they have over there. You got...
They got generational players, man.
Literally. I mean, you got 2 of the best shooters to ever do it.
Yeah.
Like you said, Steph's a 2-time MVP. KD is an MVP. Draymond goes out there and leaves it out there every single time on the court. He's got the playmaking ability to do a lot of things on both ends of the floor. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you obviously have to look at, the hand that's dealt. And Kerr's a great coach. Take nothing away from what those guys have done, man. Not even a little bit. They work extremely hard to get to where they're at every single year. So, they're going to continue to do it until we figure out how to slow them down. Right? Yeah, man, absolutely.
So do you feel like around the league, almost in just like a competitive, friendly way, everybody's like rooting on, like last year, Houston? Like, did you find yourself rooting on the Rockets to try and pull it off just to see if somebody could do it, or no? How were you watching that last year?
I was indifferent, honestly. If Houston did it, great. If they didn't, Golden State's back to the finals. It is something to see, Golden State continue to make a run at the finals, just as Cleveland was. They were making LeBron, I would say himself, has made an incredible run at the finals like 7 years in a row. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch as a fan of the game. Obviously, I mean, that's history. You look back, I have a daughter that's 3 now, but, when she's 20, she'll be able to see that he's made the finals 7 straight times. Unbelievable, to even say. So it is fun to kind of see history, to see greatness, but yeah, as far as them making it or not making it, I'm indifferent.
The other thing I think about the league that's changed is not only the product on the court, but I just think it's interesting, and I love it personally, like to see the personalities blossom the way that the league has really given you guys a platform to do. Like, it's allowed you guys to be you guys, and I think you look at the growth of the league, and our ratings have been up 4 years in a row, and fan interest is way through the roof over the last 5 years or so. I think, if I were to pinpoint anything, I'd say that's the number one reason, honestly. Like we talked about the NFL earlier, these guys wear helmets. That's why I love Cam. I think Cam shows his personality, and not everybody loves it. But, everybody does that in the NBA. That's not uncommon in the NBA. In the NFL, people push back on that, though.
Yeah, I think you'd have to take your hat off to Adam Silver for that. I feel like any time something's going on in society, I feel like the league office truly encourages players to speak up, whatever your point of view is. And I don't feel like it's like that in the NFL, and I feel like that's why they butt heads sometimes so much with the players. So I feel to know that your commissioner has your back and does support you no matter how you feel about any type of thing going on in society, it is a good feeling. And that's why you do see the NBA with so many different personalities out there, so many big voices.
Well, you guys did that a few years ago. And Kemba, yourself, I think Nick was a part of that with this scholarship effort.
Yeah.
We had some social unrest in our city, and I think everybody in our city thought, it's one of those situations, how could this happen here, right? Like, everybody wants to go about their business and think everything's good. And, there are people in every community that think, my voice isn't heard, right? And, you guys came together as a locker room and said, hey, we want to do something. We care about the city.
Yeah, we wanted to try to find a way to impact the city in a positive way. We feel like coming up with the scholarship program, and Coach Cliff too. Please don't leave Cliff out. He was very instrumental in that, man. He was very instrumental in that. We just wanted to find a way to impact our community. It was difficult, man, to see, when you see things happen in society, wherever it may be, whether it's Dallas or Seattle or wherever, you kind of watch it on TV and you're like, man, that sucks. But when it happens in your city, I mean, they tore down the team shop. Yeah. You know what I mean? That we had to cancel a practice. Like, it was not safe to go down there. So it was difficult to watch, man. It was a tough time for our city, but Charlotte has been great, man. We've bonded together, and obviously they repaired the city, and I think things are going back to normal now.
All right, we'll wrap with some Hornets. So, whole new coaching staff's in here, and this staff's young. They got energy. They're bringing the energy to you guys, I feel like, during practice and during training camp. So what's it been like to try and it's still a work in progress, but just get to know this coaching staff and kind of grow as a team, as one unit under James Borrego?
I think it's been fun, man. I think that's the best word to describe it. It's been really fun. They do bring a different energy for sure to the practice gym, to the game gym every single day. I think guys have enjoyed it from day one. You know, obviously when you get a new coaching staff, you never really know what to expect. And a lot of guys on our team have never played for another coach before.
Yeah.
You know, so it is very different. It's very new to everybody. Obviously, this is coach's first time being a head coach. But if you ask around the league about players that have played for him, man, you hear nothing but great things. And the things that I've heard personally, you know, you see him every single day, man. He's been awesome. I think he really enjoys coaching us, and I know guys really enjoy playing for him.
Did you do that? I mean, that's normal. You start texting around when you heard, like, hey, tell me about JB. What do you know about JB?
Absolutely. Just like I'm sure he hopped on the phone and asked about.
Who's this Marvin Williams?
Yeah, exactly.
Guy, right?
I mean, you got to know. You don't know what you're dealing with, good or bad. You know, you just want to know what you're dealing with. You know, so yeah, absolutely. There was a couple of guys that I spoke to about it, and like I said,
who'd you reach out to, if you don't mind?
I don't want to give my sources.
What'd they say though? What'd you get?
All great things.
Yeah,
all great things. They said he was the best, man. He said he was a wonderful guy to play for. Great understanding of basketball. Great energy, very positive, very encouraging. Those are the things that we see every single day, definitely.
You know what I loved about Cliff was he was a straight shooter, and he's got a different personality than JB, but JB is very intentional. Like, you can tell when he says something, he means it. He's very earnest about things. And obviously he's not coaching me, but just being around him, I appreciate that. As a guy that interacts with him, I think that carries a lot of weight, especially for you guys as pros. Yeah,
I think as a player, you always want to know where you stand with the coach. You know, whether it's good or bad. I mean, just knowing where you stand is everything, I feel like. And I feel like playing for Cliff, it was very refreshing to know, because Cliff would tell you, I mean, whether good or bad, you may not want to hear it, but he was very truthful, very upfront with you, and you can appreciate that at the end of the day. And I feel like JB's the same way. Now, their methods of doing that may be very different. You know, I feel like Cliff is super intense. You know, he really cares about what he does. You know, so every day is very intense. He brings it to work every day. But JB seems a lot more laid back, but they're still very similar in the way they approach things, man. So it's definitely cool.
How do you feel about music at practice? This is a new thing. How do you feel about the music?
I love the music, man. I have to be honest. I've never played for a coach that has done that, ever.
Ever?
No, never. I've never played for a coach that has done that. In the workouts, obviously the weight room, there's always music on, but like up in the gym, my first couple of workouts up there, I'm kind of looking around like, you know, who's going to turn the radio off? I thought a player had turned it on. I didn't know the coaches had turned it on.
Who's going to unhook the aux cord?
Yeah, I was like, who turned this on? So I'm kind of looking around waiting, and, you know, come to find out it was coach that had the music going, man. So I really enjoy it. I think the guys really enjoy it. It does kind of get your spirits uplifted when it's time to practice and go to work.
And to be clear, it's not all the time, right? So, like, when you guys are shooting, you're warming up, all that stuff you got it going on. When you're talking, when there's some instruction that's happening and you guys are walking through sets and stuff like that, music's off.
Yeah.
So it's not like there's just music. People are more paying attention to the music. But yeah, when you guys are getting warmed up, you're trying to get that energy going. You got a little help.
Yeah, they usually turn it on before practice, probably the first, I'd say, 20 minutes of practice while we're shooting, stretching, whatever, and then usually at the end of practice when we're shooting as well. So, like I said, it is different, man, but I think guys do enjoy it.
Have you taken any issue with the songs that are being played, or are you cool with, like, Cody's not happy? He says there's not enough country music.
Not enough country for Cody, probably. No, there was country a couple of workouts, though, a few weeks ago, and I know he appreciated that. But me personally, man, I don't care what's on there. I've learned a couple of country songs, kind of hearing them up there, too. Okay. So I enjoy music is music to me, so I definitely enjoy it all.
What's it like playing with this much spacing on the floor? You guys are still trying to, I think, learn the intricacies of what JB wants you guys to do, but I was amazed Friday, the first game, like, obviously there were times it was a little herky-jerky, there were other times where, man, that was beautiful offense. You guys were running good sets, but the ability for guys to just screen and cut off screens, and multiple guys cut, and backdoor cuts, passing lanes are open, driving lanes are open. I mean, it looks like fun basketball to me just watching it.
Yeah, it's very, very, very spread out, and it's very, very fast-paced.
Yeah.
I actually felt like the game was the slowest that we had played in a little while, honestly. You know, because like I said, we have been playing with that 12-second clock, and that is a little bit different. But when we got out there playing against Boston, it did seem a little slower to me. But obviously, we'll continue to work on it. But yeah, there's a lot of space, man. I think the guy that'll benefit the most from it is Kemba. You know, he's a guy that doesn't need much of any space to get things done. So to have a ton of space like that, I know he's really excited about it. And, you know, the more he's able to get into the teeth of the defense and break it down, it's going to benefit for guys like myself and Nick and anyone else who's going to be out there shooting. So it'll be good.
And to that point, something I noticed on Friday, I think Hornets fans, you watch for this, you'll maybe start to recognize it. Kemba didn't have the ball in his hands a lot. You know, there were times he brought it up the court. Other times it was Jay Lamb. Other times it was Miles Bridges, even when he was running the second unit, Tony Parker, Nick Batum, but Kemba at times, but everybody's touching the ball. And so Kemba's off the ball, and that's when he's at his most dangerous. So when he's just out there in space, to your point, and able to get to the basket. So that seems exciting to me.
Well, I think he loves it, too, because it takes so much pressure off of him. You know, I feel like as great of a player as he is, we rely on him so much night in and night out to make a play for us. And granted, he does it time after time after time for us, but you know, at the same time, it does take a lot of pressure off him, you know, so a lot of the cuts, a lot of the spacing, a lot of the ball movement will definitely help us get a lot easier baskets. So I'm sure that definitely he'll appreciate that for sure.
You have an expectation for you individually, and then as a team, what do you do? Have you set benchmarks for yourself yet, or is it still too early for that?
I'm at a point, man, in my career, honestly, where I just try to win as many games as I can.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I've made the playoffs a few times throughout the course of my career. I've never been past the second round. I've been to the second round a few times, but you know, for me, obviously not knowing how much longer you're going to play, you know, I just want to try to win as much as I possibly can. So whatever I have to do to help our team do that is what I'm going to do.
It's Kemba's goal. I mean, I think what's been so cool about Kemba is not only is he the ultimate pro the way you are, but that is, I mean, he's been trying to speak that into existence for a while now of, hey, I want to do things nobody's done here before. And that is get to the second round. You know, you'd have to go back to the original Hornet days. Nobody's done it from the Bobcats in this new era. So I think that's a realistic goal, too, in the Eastern Conference. I think that's entirely possible. I think the city would be on fire if this team's able to accomplish that.
You know what? We really want to do it, man. We were just talking about the Miami series on the bus heading to practice today. And, I mean, how close – I mean, D-Wade makes these incredible threes.
Unreal.
You know, I mean, we were that close to making it to the second round. You know, and I feel like everyone has tasted that, and we've really been trying to push towards that again. Obviously, the last couple of years haven't gone in our favor, but – you know, guys do remember what the city felt like. We remember how much they supported us. Our fan base has been incredible, man. They come out and support us whether we win or lose, which is very much appreciated as players. But we want to get back to the postseason, man. It's going to be a long journey, obviously, but we do believe that we can do it.
Best of luck through the preseason. We'll catch up soon once we get on the road for the regular season, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's episode 17 of Courtside Seats. Hornets power forward Marvin Williams dropping by and hanging out in Boston and wrapping up training camp, getting ready for the season and this preseason schedule underway. It was good to catch up with Marv. He had a lot of fun, obviously being back in Chapel Hill in North Carolina for training camp earlier in the week. We'll be back next week, another edition of Courtside Seats. As always, you can find us on our Charlotte Hornets YouTube channel. You can subscribe to all of our great content there. We'll always have the podcast up there. You can find us in Apple Podcasts. Search Courtside Seats. You could search my name, Kroeger, Kroeger. You could search Charlotte Hornets. Any of those options will do. Make sure you subscribe, and you can rate and review the podcast there if you don't mind. Also, anywhere podcasts are available, you can find us, so just search us out for Courtside Seats.